How you doing, my brother?
Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Taking it
You're
easy.
good? Our reception is good. I'm
Yes.
making sure that
Yes.
we're right
Yes.
where we're supposed to be.
Yes. You're nice and crystal clear.
Yeah. Well, today we have from 4:30. I'm supposed to have Clayton Morris and Brian Williams of the Stripe Squad.
Huh.
That 1989 players from the 1989 Stripe Squad team that took us to the verge of qualification for Italia 1990.
Yeah.
I felt it was apt given that we're in the midst of a World Cup.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of football hype within the country for the younger generation who never experienced what we experienced in 1989. And it was a good opportunity to reconnect with those players. And for you and I and Richard when he joins us, just to reminisce a bit. And perhaps we might have some questions. You may have some questions, David.
Hmm.
We heard so many small anecdotes and little myths about the team's preparation that I was speaking with Brian Williams and Clayton Morris, and they told me that they prepare to respond if it is we care to raise those issues, because they were saying so many stories came out into the public space that weren't true at all.
Yeah.
So but I'm saying that and all, I'm putting some context. We have to talk about very briefly, not any big dissertations, small chatter about this situation concerning our friend Jack Warner.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be marrying that whole extradition fiasco into the football, and then talking about football and its evolution and development in Trinidad between 1989 and now. So we're spotting, and we're guided by the learned minds of a former national captain, a revered national captain in Clayton Morris.
Okay.
Where were you? You remember, sometimes we reflect in our mind's eye. When you hear about events in history, once it is within our lifetime, we tend to reflect and remember where we were when we got the news. Where were you? Were you there at the stadium in 1989?
No, 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 no. I was at home. Looking on. We had a nice lime on. Cook up a lot of thing, curry, duck, all kind of thing, and was waiting to have a fun time looking on at that game back in the days when was those big fat television.
Black TV, as they say, no flat screen, no smart
Yeah,
TV.
no, 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 and everybody was just like waiting for this game to get on. And then, so many things were happening. The team was taking a long while to get to the stadium, all kind of different problems they were having. They came from all the way Forest Reserve. So, man, you're having some beers and things, the chatter will start. So a lot of guys were upset. I can remember that very well. I too was
Upset about the journey, about the fact that they're leaving for reserve to get to Port of Spain?
well,
Or upset
when
about
we
the
when
result?
we heard the news that the team was the home team, the team that we want to win was quite in Forest Reserve. I mean, that's a very long distance to the stadium. As a matter of fact, I live at Lubray, and that's further than Lubray.
Uh-huh.
And to know that I used to play a lot of football too. I played a lot of football, a lot of cricket and stuff. So I knew what it would have been like to travel a long distance and that, and then to hit the field. When I went to the Destiny College, we had games against St. Mary's and thing, and by the time we got to Port of Spain on that bus, we were like fatigued, and guys had us to warm up to get back in the groove, and it's too much of a long drive. So when we heard that, I said, well, what kind of stupidness is that? It has so much of nice hotels right around the stadium, Hilton, this, that, the other. Back in those days, Holiday Inn and all kind of thing. And why they had the guys take quite at Forest Reserve? Then when they got to the stadium, the massive crowd, because at the time this child told us on top of the game and up partner. One of the guys that is hardly mentioned, who was a main component of that strike squad team, was a guy named Dennis Morgan. He was a midfielder. He played a real his part was a very integral one for the team progress.
Dennis Morgan or Dennis Lawrence?
No. I'm mixing it up. No, I'm mixing it up with
Sorry, Lawrence?
I'm mixing it up with the first ever against Haiti. I'm mixing it up
Oh,
again with that, yeah. But at the time, we had a real super squad, the strike squad. That was a real super squad. And I thought after the long journey to the stadium, the massive crowd that were waiting, them to congratulate them, to wish them well and all kind of thing, just going through that crowd alone was to get very tired too. So I was at home looking on at the game until we got news that the stadium was oversold, and I sat back and I that make us just enjoy the beers and the curry duck. We just hung up everything and said, look, you see them thing kind of frustrating us. So we just hung up on, and especially when the goal scored. You know what I mean? I never felt that we were able to, we weren't given a fair chance of the opportunity of fairness to go forward in that World Cup. I think the odds are too much against us from the word go. But to put the team quite in Forest Reserve. Back in those days, had no fancy highway like now, So it would
right.
have been real tiresome to travel all that way. I'm from South, and sometimes traveling on a normal day when the traffic is good, when you hit your protest, when you're tired, you're bored, you're weak, you're what, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
takes out of you. So I was
But
really disappointed when that happened.
the ironically, naturally, I had to have a word with our guests. I had a small conversation with them yesterday,
Yeah,
and I was giving them a heads up as to what exactly we intend to achieve today in terms of carrying a conversation with them.
yeah,
So I told them I don't like to catch anybody off guard,
yeah,
and in no way are we trying to incriminate them or point fingers at them years after. It's been 33 years.
yeah.
So what I told them is we just want to have a discussion about, clearing up the myths and asking poignant questions about where football has come between 1989 to now. But
Mm,
I'm saying that to say this, that issue of why they stayed in Forest Reserve,
yeah.
that came up with Brian Williams. So I wouldn't say what he said. I want him to say it on here because credibility lies in it coming from his mouth.
Yes,
But
yes.
he gave his view. He gave his view and he gave an explanation for Forest Reserve.
Right.
And Forest Reserve is Palo Seco, right? I'm not a South man. That's in Palo
Well,
Seco.
no, 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 no. Forest Reserve is Forest Reserve, Palo Seco is Palo Seco. They are
All
very
right.
close.
Right.
Forest Reserve is part of Faizabad,
Mhm.
not Palo Seco. It's very close, but not Palo Seco.
Right.
It's part of Faizabad.
But he gave me an explanation which I will raise and let him elaborate on the reasons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But did you get an opportunity to read Gally Cummings' autobiography?
No, 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 no.
Cummings wrote a biography that was released, in my estimation, sometime earlier this year.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if my memory is failing me, but I remember buying. What happened to me is I tend to buy all the local books or things
Right.
on local people, and I put it down until it becomes relevant in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
But Cummings' book has been available for some time, and what he did is, he, if I may put it this way, he let loose in that book. He said everything that needed to be said from his perspective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I want to confront Mr. Williams and Mr. Morris on some of the issues there. And when I say confront, I simply mean ask them if it is they agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Gally Cummings was the popular coach, and he was. I don't want to say the strike scorer is his brainchild, but he was certainly at the forefront of propelling the team in the direction it went. The
Yeah.
players may have executed things on the field, but I would imagine the coach picked the team, so therefore he would have been a determining factor in terms of the chemistry that took place and the opportunities that players got, because there were some players whose career were built on the strike squad experience. You remember Dwight York, his stint with Aston Villa, where he got an opportunity to go on trial in
England.
England. was
Yeah.
on the basis of the experience he was having with the strike squad. I'm seeing Brian Williams joining us.
Yes, he's with us.
Mr. Williams, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's really good to see you. It's good to
Yeah,
see you.
yeah, man. It's a pleasure, man. Everything that's nice.
Yeah.
How you
Let me
doing?
just do a song check with David. David, are we getting Mr. Williams in the volume and in the tone that we want? Or
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Williams. How are you doing?
Yes, good afternoon, David. I'm fine.
Yes, I think he's perfect there.
nice, nice. Mr. Williams, it's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice, man. You know it go. Many years, many years.
Yeah. And what's good on all it's we see you with pictures on the newspaper clippings, but we actually hearing your voice and seeing you in action in a different way, not in action on the football field.
On the football field, all right, football field. I know it's good. Your life is of such.
Yeah. Do you miss your playing days when you're watching football now on the TV? You could see yourself on the field doing what those players not doing that in your mind they should be doing.
Yo, you know that good. Sometimes you will judge some of the situations and say what you're gonna do and do different things. Your decision. But other than that, that is always coming once you're a footballer or any athlete looking at the sports that they did the soul of. You know what I mean? So you must get those little butterflies, that passion will always flow when it come around them times, Yeah. I know the World Cup is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, so there's always create that attraction and it's look at certain things,
Yeah.
But it's good still. Yeah. Adjustment is important when you can adjust.
It's good to see you. The person who you're not seeing is David McIntyre. He's a man who pulls all the strings behind the scenes. So you will hear
Okay.
his voice from time to time. We are waiting your captain Clayton Morris to join us.
Oh, you're clicking.
You're earlier than him, but I spoke with him and he should be joining us shortly.
Right,
And,
yes.
and
Uh,
then Richard Norrie will be joining us. He's the co-host, so he'll be asking you questions also and asking questions of Clayton Morris and so on.
Okay, no problem.
So we should have a good evening. We have you in that seat until 6 o'clock, and we intend to hold on to you until then.
All right. I'll be feeling no problem.
It may only sound like a long time, but it's it will pass pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know it does go sometimes.
Yeah.
We do a separate thing. Yeah, but all is good.
Mhm. Mhm. I was like we were reflecting yesterday. I remember as a child, my father taking me to the National Stadium and seeing ASL,
Yes.
and you were the left back. In those days, I remember you playing left back.
Right back.
Right,
Someone,
okay.
I play, but I can play on both sides, left or right. You know what I mean? So according to some teams, some teams I play right back, some teams I play left wing back. But anyway, wing backs will be comfortable for me.
Well, in my mind's eye, being an avid football fan, not a player, I couldn't play. Being an avid football fan, I remember seeing you playing. I could picture you now in my head in a
Yes.
left back position, north facing south, meaning you all were attacking the southern goals.
Yes,
Maybe that particular game I saw you in a left back position.
Yeah. But a man from the east, you never play no football.
Well, I played, but not to your standards. So I don't. When I'm speaking to ace players like yourself, I wouldn't be so bold to declare myself a footballer.
David,
When I'm speaking to lesser mortals, I will do that.
yeah, David and one or two of the former masters and go to have some fun, man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I play, unlike Farid, I played a lot of football and a lot of cricket.
That is nice. That is nice. A little bit of activity,
Yes, man.
But
Yes.
we play now where the results don't matter for you. So you could just go out and have some fun, control.
Yeah.
And pure banter after bragging rights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be nice, man. It's just an exercise. Just look at it now.
Yes.
Yeah, go out there and do what you can do a little bit.
Right. Now, Richard has just joined us. Free.
Yeah.
Richard, how are you going?
You know, you take a while to tune in. He's warming into the position.
Yeah.
He's warming up in the background.
But you know, I was invited to a sporting event that had guys playing football.
I am warming up the camera. I'm hearing everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian. I went to Rio Claro to just patronize a recreational event that had the old strike squad. They were invited by the blind cricketers up in Rio Claro, I think a couple of years ago.
Yes.
You know, I was pleased to see the old strike squad with Clayton Morris, and they came up there. They played against a team that were in a kind of bubble, a kind of plastic bubble thing. You know, it was real fun. It was real fun.
Right, yes, they had some fun like that. Because that is the event that the UN put on.
Oh,
Yeah, the UN put on that.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
To Mr.
I think it's Ramlal or something. So was the guy's name.
Yes, Mr. Ramlal.
Yeah, he's my good friend.
Yeah, Mr. Ramlal and those guys, Tony Mahabi and them guys.
Yes. So I had a real fun time looking out at the old strike squad striking still, man.
Yeah, we try to keep this together.
Yes, man. That is nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Richard?
Brian, you'll be seeing
Yeah,
Richard
well-
on screen.
Yeah, let me say this. Fareed, hello, good day, Daddy Mac, and I know him as Brian Williams. Am I wrong?
Yes.
He is Brian Williams.
Of course, he a different name. I want to let him know I
Really?
was in the stadium, not only 1989, but all the warm-up matches we have had and so on. I think he used to run on the left side forward.
Yes.
Am I correct? This was a big rasta that we liked. I mean, come on, you couldn't really dispossess this guy, you know. I mean, so it was really good. And I want to thank Fareed for bringing on some of our 1989 strike squad, the team that, you know, we cried in the Oval. I mean,
Not cry,
this is
Richard.
the
Ball.
best- yeah, this is the
Good
best we
ball.
have offered. This is the best we have had on show. Even when we went to World Cup after, Kerry Jameson, Philbert Jones.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that was the machine. I mean, up front.
Yes, Maurice
Yeah.
Alabi.
Yeah, Alabi, you know, people used to call him this big abortionist, but he was Alabi, the man that when we kind of flat, he will miss the putting that ball in the net from right under the bar. But here what he used to do was good. He used to create the play with those long, fast legs he had.
Yes.
So sometimes when he hit the bar and it rebounded, you get Kerry Jameson coming in with a rocket. You know, now when you analyze it, had it not been for what he did, although they call him all sorts of names, the opportunity would not have been created. When he used to run at those defenders, it was impressive. If his accuracy was a little better, we might have scored more goals. But he was a talent too, just that his finishing wasn't the same as the rest of his play. Could have been nerves, eh?
Yes. Well, you know, this good. You know?
Yeah.
But
you were always solid, Brian. You were always, nobody could argue that. Even when we lose, had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You always, in fact, we used to call it 100%, you know.
Yeah.
You know, whenever we in trouble, we felt safe once you had the ball up front there. Honestly, you always had your head on, you know what's the next play, and you execute. They never had you down as a guy to strike for us, but they had you down as a guy to bring that ball forward, get the cross inside, or stop on the wing, turn back and pass it to midfield and thing. And you always did that faultlessly.
Fareed, this man.
I'm really happy to have you all.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
You remember the one game that Dexter Lee replaced you? I think you were.
That's against Guatemala in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I remember Dexter Lee played that one game. He played that one game and replaced you for one game. I think you may have had. Was it a card or you were injured?
Yes, I had two consecutive yellow cards, so I had to miss that game, that Guatemala game in Trinidad.
In keeping with what Richard was saying, I remember halftime, everybody was talking and they were saying that, Dexter Lee isn't looking bad. It's just we're missing Brian bringing the ball forward from defense. Lee was just doing that job holding on.
Yeah. Good guy too, Yeah, those guys. Well, Dexter Lee was younger than, obviously younger than me. So it was kind of way, we worked together. But most of the times I was Gary first choice at the right wing back. But Dexter Lee was a pretty sturdy player too. Kind of way understudy too, of me. But he was a good guy. Yeah.
It saddened me, for the players like Brian and the captain, Mr. Morris, I think was his name.
Clayton.
Right, yeah. It saddened me because Dwight York had already gotten a contract with Aston Villa.
Yes.
He had already gotten a contract.
Yeah.
And the word on the ground was, once we had qualified, so many other players would have gotten contracts all over the world. Yeah. And I must say, you, Philbert Jones, Kerry Jameson, were the next three I had as definite picks that would have gotten big contracts, So that when we didn't make it on that final day against America, and we could discuss that just now, all the crying and tears that we all shared, that was part of my sadness, because what I saw there was the denial of a future that so many other players could have benefited from. And what would have been more exciting, at least for me, is that if more of you all had gotten contracts like York, what would happen? We'd have a better team in the future, meaning it would inspire more youngsters to concentrate more on soccer. And when we had to qualify again, you all coming back off from your clubs, we have 4 or 5, a bigger pool of professionals. Our team will become more solid and more confident in its attack and approach to qualifying for the next World Cup. So I was crying for all those future developments. I saw a major missed opportunity. It wasn't just to go for Italy for me. It was to go to Italy, then to America, another place to make qualifying.
The continuation.
That's it. Because not like Jamaica went once
and we wouldn't have to wait 16 years after.
That is the point. After having waited so long.
Because that was our interest too, That was our interest too. Obviously, more players playing abroad professionally with a kind of Clayton is on. Would bring that more attention to Toronto Tobago football. So we kind of were always proud of setting the foundation still, When I mean setting the foundation, being part of it. You know what I mean? Because remember, we have the 1973 team, which did also well against Haiti.
Right.
And that was a little setback around even for the 74 World Cup.
Well, I would have been just born, but I think that is the team that with Mr. Cummins, where they say we scored and this guy, they're always involved in soccer too. I can't remember his name. Anil, Jesus, I'm missing his name. A Douglas guy, senior. I think he played. Yeah, I think he played too. He's a commentator, and his son sometimes I think manages soccer team. What's their name again? Very popular people in the
Cornelius.
The Cornelius, yeah. Oh, okay. I think Cornelius would have played with Gali in that time that I heard about.
Yeah, I think Gali was a young. Gali was a youngster coming on in Alvin Colin and them times.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
because they both went to Fatima together.
Yeah. And we scored about 7 times in that match to qualify, and they disallowed every single goal. I mean, so we were robbed, and that is happening in the World Cup today. What is sad is that our country been going through what other countries have been going through also, working so hard 2-3 years in advance of the World Cup to try to qualify, right? When you finally get through, you have a few referees out there, and you've seen it again today in the World Cup. Like they have a preset mind against small countries, and in particular, forgive me, but African countries. It is as though from the time you show your head and you look like you could progress, they come out with a mindset to blow the whistle anytime we tackle someone. But when we get a hard tackle, they say fair tackle, move on, the commentary and all. Look, today I'm back in Argentina to go through. It would be sad for them to be out of the World Cup so early. I think they're leading now 2-0 in case I can help you all understand that. And if that is the case, That's good because we all love Argentina too. But look at the penalty today. I mean, you saw the penalty today, Brian.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. I
You,
saw
you
it.
think that was really a justifiable penalty?
But the law of the game comes so I wouldn't say complicated, so direct from the book now. We take away the human element to a certain extent. Because, for instance, I don't think that the goalkeeper Chesney touched the ball, but he ended up impeding on the player, which is Messi. You know what I mean? On his going for the ball, just come like on the ground. If I go to tackle you on the ground and I don't get the ball and I play you, then it's a foul. So on a real technicality in judgment from VAR, they will deem it a penalty because at the end of the day, he end up hitting Messi in his face. And if once he didn't touch the ball, because really and truly, as I tell my friend, Chesney could not stop in the air. You know, his body momentum will take because you're already committed.
And isn't that the goalkeeper's domain?
In the 6-yard box, yes. But
isn't that where it happened?
Yeah, but if you're impeding on the attacker, then it could be deemed out.
But your analysis was brilliant because he was already in motion in the air.
Yeah, he was already
and his
in motion.
intention was to go for the ball.
Yeah, he was already in motion. So this is why I tell you that I brought it down to a ground tackle. If I go to tackle you, if I go for the ball and ain't get the ball, and I get in contact with you, then most likely I will foul you.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to be very, very kind of way cautious in the penalty area, especially now with VAR. You know.
You seen any bias? Ronaldo the other day got a penalty against what's the name of the team, boys? Senegal, or I think they were in the same group.
But before we continue, Richard, I think we should welcome Skipper. I'm clear.
Yes, Clayton Morris.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Yes.
And I see Mr. Morris is also making a call for new leadership in the.
Hello.
I'm not hearing him. I don't know if you all are.
Skipper is sticking.
Hello.
We hearing you, but we're not seeing you. We hearing you, but we're not seeing you.
We're seeing you, but we're not hearing you properly, Skip.
Mr. Richard, I think he may have to log off and log back on. Maybe he having.
Yeah.
Sorry.
On and off. It's inconsistent. What he could do, he could probably try to log off as Farid said and log back in. Okay. So I was saying, Brian, is that again I saw it in the match. Is Senegal in the same group with Portugal?
Yes.
Right. And the penalty Ronaldo got, you saw it in the very first match?
Yes, I saw it.
All right. What your thoughts on that one? I seen some slight bias. I don't like it because I see they kick down other people in the box. They miss the ball and then they would say play on. But once it's Messi, Ronaldo, or one or two other gifted players who we have become familiar with and well known to the world, the slightest touch, that's it. You see they run to the back at the side for VAR assistant, and then you could foresee the referee coming back out to draw imaginary square and point into the box. That's unfair, because I'm saying that to say all those other teams have fans too in their countries. They have aspirations too. They want to win the World Cup too. They work hard to qualify and to reach there just for a referee to decide, giving a free kick against you for what doesn't appear to be. To me, when I even used to play soccer in secondary school, a penalty is one where a man has a clear path to goal and he impeded the man. That was the rule we were told. You are saying they change it, they make it real technical now and so on. Then that to me has affected the game negatively. Going back to Ronaldo's penalty, Brian, going back to Ronaldo's penalty, the player did not hit Ronaldo at all. Ronaldo slowed down and draw the foul, allowed the guy to run into him, and they declared that a penalty. You saw that, Farid?
Yeah, but that's part of the game. That's part of the.
Sorry.
Yeah. That is killing the game because it has skills.
Richard, I know before you make all those comments, I think there's certain adjustments now on the laws of the game, which was updated by the referees. By the referees that we might not be knowledgeable about. Look, for instance, like now you see that they're making sure 90 minutes of football being played. So you're seeing things like you're going into extra time now with 10 plus minutes now. So there are certain things that, and then they have this new technology with VAR that showing you that really work. They did a lot of work on the offside rule, which we might be not knowledgeable about. So because once the referees remains consistent with the decision, then we could understand what's taking place. But still, it's human judgment with VAR, human judgment. So they went as much as possible with lines and all those different things with VAR to make sure, because the purpose of VAR is to make sure that we get the right decision. But still the human have to judge it. So sometimes we're still getting some challenges with that.
Yeah, and you just said something,
and especially we who, because I know before every World Cup, some of the referees get an update in what they should do and what they should look for and how to judge certain things, because in every World Cup we see some type of little adjustment in the laws of the game, So this one had to do with VAR in trying to make the best decision with offside in terms of contact. For instance, it's always questionable because our arms are part of our body. Football is a physical game where you carry a lot of motion and action, balance. Your hands are used to balance. Your hands are used for reaction. For instance, like if I go to pierce in your eye, you might break. You know what I mean? So this was something that's going sometime in the game. But now they have, if your hands in an abnormal position, because for instance, if I'm coming into you and I jump, I will use my hands to jump. Or if you go to cross a ball, and come into my face, I will break. But once I get the arms up and the ball in the hand, it's a penalty. So there's a lot of things that we will have to, it's questionable, the naked eyes, like all of us. Some of us who don't know, we will argue about it, but we're hoping that in the scheme of things, sometimes the best decision being made, but we're seeing sometimes where, look like today, with that penalty, with me, I would say, I wouldn't give a penalty for that. I don't think that is a penalty with the goalkeeper. But then the laws of the game now will have to apply what they're looking for to stay consistent.
You said something, Brian, that I think is the best way to sum this up that is bothering me. First of all, I want to tell you, I agree with you. They updated all these things and they're helping the game to move forward. Like the way they calculate the time now to add on. So if a team score a goal and they want to slow down the game, they add it back on. So they're going to pay.
Yes.
I like that. So I like a lot of the new rules. But here where you said just now, that was so profound. Once the rules are being applied consistently, the human. So they would apply to suit Messi, to suit Cristiano Ronaldo. And when you see Cameroon and you see some other person not looking like a Cameroon player, kick down one of those fellas, the referee put out his hand and say, play on, no free kick. But as soon as, I'm sure you have seen that, and to me,
I hear you. Look like, for instance, recently,
De
Bruyne is in the last game with I think they lost, or they win. De Bruyne said he didn't deserve man of the match.
Right.
It's only because of his name. So sometimes judgment being operated a certain way is difficult for me to say. we'll leave up to the referees and them. But anyway, I see like
players, they would say they earn it. They would say they earn it. Yeah.
They earn it. I see like you got to start.
Let's try the captain again. Mr. Morris.
Good afternoon.
Right.
You all hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Mr. Morris. On screen, you'll be seeing myself and the other person that he had is our main host, Richard Norrie.
Richard, all right. Well, it's good to put a face to the name, Mr. Ali.
Yeah, it's really good to see you all, and it's good to see you all healthy and strong after all these years.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to carry a conversation with you all. I felt, and I was sharing with Richard, it was a good time to have you all because it's in the midst of a World Cup, and it's also this year was quite recently, would have been 33 years since our attempt to qualify in 1990. So we wanted to have a chat with both of you all, not just to talk about the qualification exercise that you all were on in 89 that, we fell short in the end, but to talk about where football is now in terms of Trinidad football and some of the views you may have as to where we are now as a football nation. Maybe what we could start, Richard, with an easy question. Clayton, you the captain. Who was the better player, you or Brian Williams?
we were on a team and
Skipper, you're breaking up.
You're breaking up a little bit. He lost for words, Brian. He lost for words.
No, could I suggest that he take off his camera?
Like how you and Chen have on the road this evening, we are better.
Yeah, you want to take off your camera, Clayton?
Skipper, you're breaking up, Skipper.
Yeah, take off the camera and see if that would help. Sometimes the feed is not strong enough to carry. Yeah, both.
All right, that's all.
Yeah, all right. Let's see now.
Yes, Richard. Testing,
right,
1, 2, 3. Better?
It's sounding good.
Yeah.
It's sounding good.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're about to tell us who was the better player, yourself or Brian Williams?
Right. Well, in our team, Mr. Ali, we didn't have who better. We both had our specific roles in the team, and we made sure we did it. We did it to the max. Just like how you and Richard have this program going, same way we had it functioning. So you don't have no better. We have had our roles and responsibility, and up to today we still carry out that. This is why the strike squad is still up and functioning, not physically on the football field, but we're still doing our work in the communities.
Yeah. We really appreciate you all. You all have kept the spirit of the team alive, and I thank you for your captain's response.
No, but I had to say, I think, looking at the team all along, I think they were both excellent players in their respective roles.
Yeah.
The roles they played would have been tough to compare them, because it's not like one used to come on as a substitute for the other in the same role, and then who played that position better. Is that the captain, as far as I recall, where first of all he was a leadership. I think he got married during the World Cup period. Not so, Clayton?
The 1990 World Cup, but not during the campaign.
Okay, all right, yeah. I know it because it made so much news, and that was nice because that alone highlighted the point as to what huge stars you all will be. You all were and still are to me, then and now, because when you got married, it made so much news, and that's good. But I think you played the leadership role. I think you led the strike squad really nicely. And I was explaining to Brian earlier on, it was unfortunate that we didn't go that one step further. One of the things that developed in that qualification part of going to that parade had to do with several things were referenced as to what caused the problem. Overselling of the tickets, our keeper should have had on a sun visor when the ball came from south to north. I mean, I was right there and we watched that ball. It looked like a cross. It was almost from half line. And it just bounced prematurely in front of the keeper and then bounced up in the goal. We didn't understand what happened until they went back to the center line and we hear in goal and the Americans talking up, you know. But before we end up there, I just want to say this. Why you all went all the way where you went to stay to travel that distance?
Forest Reserve. They
Right.
stayed at Forest Reserve.
Right. To come back up the road. Normally, when you make that long run, you get tired just by the journey alone. You start to sleep. And then the next part was when you all came out naturally, the huge stars you all are back then too. You all were mobbed because I was now looking from upstairs. I was in already after being there from since 2 o'clock in the morning. I got in without presenting a ticket. When I got in and I say, here's my ticket, they say, young man, just go out now, you're crazy one. You can go back out there. So I was upstairs looking down and the vehicles came in and the players were coming off and you see hundreds of people trying to get a hold of them, trying to touch their arm, holding on to them. Would those things have contributed to the performance on the day? In any way, it sapped your energy in any way?
Yes, it did, Richard. But before we go into that topic, I want to deal with the part where why we stayed on it, why we came from Forest Reserve. You all hear me?
Yes,
Right.
clearly.
Yes,
Yeah.
If I ask you, Richard, every day after you take a shower and you dry up, which leg you use first to put on your underwear?
I think I can tell Alan said, I don't even think I said on the radio, was always my right leg. Yeah.
You're right leg.
Yeah.
Okay. So you use your right leg all the time because that is where you get the left leg after. True there?
Yeah.
Right. So that is what, right?
Yeah. Take your time.
You're
You're
breaking
breaking
up.
up just a little again.
November 1989. If we first game in the campaign, you hear me now?
Yeah, the last thing we heard
You
is
hear me
that,
now?
yeah, you start back from the right leg.
Jalil,
You missed everything after that.
You hear me now, Richard?
Yeah, clearly.
Right, what I was saying, right? You said you got the right leg. So
Yeah.
you did that because you feel comfortable and at the end of it, you feel comfortable and you get results.
Right.
So going back to November 1980, right? If we go to the first game in that campaign, I don't know if you remember the Alicia Guest House. I just a stone throw from the Queen's Park Savannah.
Alicia's guest house.
Right, Alicia's
I
Guest
know
House.
that. Yeah, opposite the Prime Minister's residence.
Right, we stayed right there, right? You could say that is exactly in the stadium. Just you go around the Queen's Park Savannah down by Alexander Street and you're in the Oval.
One time, yeah. 5
We
minutes.
had, right, 5 minutes. So we had, which that was the first game. And as the campaign went on, right, when we stayed there, we as the players making it digital and it was a real distraction. So we, well, Brian and Miss Mel, I don't think Brian was working at Twin Talk yet, but I worked at Twin Talk, and the manager we had there, Richard Braffett, God rest his soul, he passed on about 4 or 5 years now. He saw it fit and offer the Forest Reserve facility, the bungalows as we call them, to house the team, which was the ideal venue, and I know Brian will elaborate on that later on. Where we was really a place that is for training. So we went there after, I think it was after the when we played in America. So we started in London. All the games prior to November the 1989, we came right there. And if you all go back to the side where we came from. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. So let me try to see if I can help you there because you've been in and out. So what you are saying is you all change location because when you in Alicia's guest house, like fans were coming around. It was
we were mobbed. We were mobbed.
So you all move, you change location to prevent that. And where you all were staying in forest reserves, I think that's what Farid said. That's where you played the other matches from there successfully.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, then it was the same thing. And I understand where you went with the example with which foot you use to put on someone's underwear and so on. Okay, all right. Yeah. So then that should have had no material impact on the match against America because you're accustomed going through that process, yeah?
Right, but the difference in that, Richard, is that we, as we said, we were mobbed. We were mobbed. Then again, the security lapse for the team, that was a really lapse because, I mean, when we travel, Brian can tell you, when we travel, you have security. We in Trinidad and we didn't have security for our team, right? Because I remember the game when we qualified.
Richard, maybe he should log off and log on again.
Hunt, after that game, right? After we won the game and we had to stay in the dressing.
Skipper, you hearing us?
Yeah.
Clayton. Skipper.
Hello.
Yeah, you're breaking up a lot, brother.
You're breaking up a lot.
You're breaking up a
when
lot.
You're coming through really clearly and nicely.
Yeah, we hear you consistently at all.
Yeah.
All right, that's brand new, boy. I changed my location.
All right, but just to strengthen Richard Furry, just to kind of add to some of Clayton comments there, and this is something that was always a question about the strike squad. You know, I think, as Clayton mentioned, what took place in Port of Spain with the team after we played our first two games, I think, was a really challenging in privacy and stuff and them things, because I think access to Alicia's was so open to the general public. Sometimes it made it difficult for us to even sometimes rest properly because people were kind of bombarding Alicia because that was so easily accessible. So the authorities, the court and the technical staff had to sit on it and say what is best for this team, seeing that there's hope in qualification. So we had to. So then they went and reached out, and as Clayton said, the Trinidad management offer the Forest Reserve facilities, which we thought was ideal. Because for those who don't know, we spent nearly about 6 months or more in Forest Reserve. And in Forest Reserve, those days run by Trinidad, was a well-kept place. Was 2 big bungalows. We had about 4 to 5 players in a room, which was good. And we really had a real bonding time there because if you guys don't know, to access Forest Reserve, you had to go through the Trinidad security. It was like a gated community then. You had to check in by the gate, and it wasn't easily accessible to the general public. So our bonding and our building in Forest Reserve was really, really a strong one. You know what I mean? Because in Forest Reserve, there wasn't any distraction there in our preparation. And most of our games from that time, we traveled from Forest Reserve to Port of Spain and play. But I keep saying, on November 19, the occasion rise above the rest, which might be a lack of foresight by some of the authorities seeing, as I always say, you know, Trinbagonians, some of them, we jump on the bandwagon when things go nice. But we know we was always getting that support publicly. We know that. But that day, it was we really got bombarded in terms of travel, because the morning when we got up in Forest Reserve, the employees of Trintuck and who used to be around inside that restricted area, and other people too, outside the camp was already had people gathering outside the camping. So when we get up in the morning, we had breakfast, we organized ourselves, and all the people was all outside the camp. So we jump in our maxis and things. We usually stop off at Orapooch, at the Catholic church, the Catholic or the Anglican church, where Father Pereira used to give us a little guidance, a little blessings, that we would see. And then we
traversed Roman Catholic Church.
Yes.
He was the
He was the priest there. And then we traversed to Port of Spain. But during that time, all Faizabad, as Clayton would tell you too, on the highway we got human barriers. So this we say, we know it was a lack of foresight of what would have took place during that time. But we say that we are accustomed doing the things. We don't want to change the things that brought us success. So we say we will continue doing those things, but the occasion arise above the rest, and was a lack of foresight. So we had challenges traveling to Port of Spain, even so when we get to the stadium, because the whole thing about the overselling of tickets and some of the people couldn't go in, so they blocked the bus inside the stadium. So if we can't get in, all you ain't going in. So the defense force had to be called in to make a barricade, security barricade, for us to come out the bus and go into the stadium. So to a certain extent, that was some of the challenges that we faced before the game. Saying to even so before that at the church in Orapooch, people was more or less standing on the pews of the church.
Yeah,
was a big, challenge to get into the church when it should have been. Let me don't do that again.
Right.
As Clayton said, we did not outriders or security moving with us at that time to make sure that we move smoothly. So that was one of the challenges. It could have played a part.
Right. Gally Cummings had said in his book that he chose Forest Reserve because he felt it was a nice place where the team could have bonded in privacy, and you all could have spent more time together, more fellowship, more brotherhood, and focus on the football and not be distracted by all the number of visitors, the random visitors that would be coming to Alicia's guest house unannounced. Exactly.
Yeah. And that was one of the key purpose, going to Forest Reserve. And when we got there, we fell in love with the players in terms of that bonding and the reason why that venue those facility was chosen. Yeah. Because we wasn't distracted. We had our own kitchen, everything. So we ate well. Everything was really no problems. The problems, as we would say, the only disappointment for me in the general campaign was not winning that game.
Yeah. Gally had said that they had because the place was secured, and in order to enter the compound, you have to get past security. He could have actually controlled who was entering. So he said that from time to time, Patrick Manning and Archbishop Anthony Pantin and even Brian Lara would come by, but they were special guests. So he sort of gave them a reprieve to come by as often as they can. But it was a controlled environment all the time, so you all were able to be at peace.
Yes, definitely, because to get into Forest Reserve, you have to contact us. So we could have said, okay, let that guy come in, or this one, we're expecting this one to come to us and stuff like that. So it wasn't like you could have just like by Alicia, you can just pull up at the hotel and or without any kind of control. You know what I mean? So that was so being at Forest Reserve served its purpose. You know this way? Yeah.
In terms of the when the game was started, when the actual play, do you feel that tactically things went wrong on the day? That the combination of the journey and the weariness setting and that affected the players on the field? Did it affect your state of mind? Walk us through the game itself, the final game against America on November 19th. How did you all feel on the field as a team? The chemistry of the team and the togetherness.
Skipper, you there?
Yeah, you all hear me, Brian?
Yeah, we hear you clearly now.
Yes.
Clearly again,
Yeah.
Clayton. Clearly, yeah.
Right.
You continue.
All right. Just before we go to that, just want to make the point with the Forest Reserve again. It was also mentioned. I remember I had a discussion with Gali, Oliver Camps, and I can't remember the person from the TTFA, but it was mentioned about leaving Forest Reserve before the game on November the 19th. But the problem we had is every time you tell somebody we go in somewhere and we don't want the public, we don't want it to be shared, it was leaked. So the problem, it came up where we want to sneak through the night and come into Port of Spain and stay somewhere. But then when we had the final session in Fatima Ground, Brian, you could remember, we started the session with everybody with ropes around the field in the pavilion, and the session ended up with, we were in the center of the field, just in the center circle, and the whole field was crowded. You all remember that, Brian?
Yeah, I think, yeah, at Fatima.
You remember that, Brian?
Yeah,
And
Fatima
therefore,
Ground.
you all couldn't practice then. You all couldn't practice.
yeah. Yes, Skipper.
Well, we practiced, Richard, while the session was going on. As the session continues, the
All right.
smaller.
Yeah.
And it's the still the right? It doesn't make any sense, but again it came back as Brian said.
I would want to ask Brian to elaborate on what Clayton's trying to say.
Foresight not having proper, because we really didn't have any security. The only security we had is the
We lost you again, Clayton. Brian, what is Clayton trying to say with us?
And what Clayton was trying to say, well, we're not trying to say, saying there is again the purpose of being in Forest Reserve. The purpose of being in Forest Reserve. So we decided that even so at that time when we had the discussion, if any movement should take place, taking all those things into consideration, we decided, well, okay, we have been successful coming out of Forest Reserve. We don't want to really change the things that given us that success. So, this kind of way, so we went along as is at Forest Reserve. But obviously, as I said again, the occasion rise above the rest, and that was some of the challenges, because that was one of the key challenges with what we went through on that day, going to the stadium. So to answer Farid's question, yes, it took some toll on the players psychologically in terms of all that challenges that we went through to get to the stadium. So which made things a little difficult. That's why you see some letharginess in terms of some of the players on the field. And that
Is it that we needed management? Because what you all are highlighting here to me is coming across as the root cause of the problem that you all suffered on that day, which was leakage of the information when you all had to do something, and that resulted in you all being crowded out wherever you went. So it impeded your practicing. you had mental stress as a result of it. You were kept far away. The people in Forest Reserve who were there and supporting you all, they turn out through normal supporters, they turn out to be part of the problem. So your frustration and that day started from on your compound.
So those mistakes, Richard Farid, was kind of I would say innocent mistakes.
Innocent, yeah. And you're overwhelmed.
You know
it's overwhelmed you all.
So obviously, so again, this is what we would have to learn by. And I always say it carry. In 1998, Jamaica qualified for the World Cup, and which there was also cognizant of some of the challenges or some of the mistakes Trinidad and Tobago made. Because even as I said before, we played against America, it was already declared a national holiday in Trinidad and Tobago. You understand what I mean? So we kind of start to celebrate, because obviously the love for the team, and I must say again the appreciation from Trinidad and Tobago in accepting and loving the Strike Squad, because we was homegrown, people was connected and attached to the team, because every Trinidadian could have named every player of the Strike Squad. So that's how we were so close to the general public. So we understand the appreciation and the love that the general public was showing to the Strike Squad at that point in time. But again, we had a job to do. And because the lack of little foresight and some of those little things to a certain extent, which, as I said, might be innocent mistakes, we paid the price in terms
Where did the Americans stay? Brian, where did the Americans stay for the game?
They stayed at Hilton.
Yeah, they stayed at Hilton Hotel.
So Clayton, they had a heads up on us in terms of they got to the ground early and they didn't have the worries that you all were exposed to in terms of that journey and in terms of the distraction.
Yes.
Yeah, but definitely, Farid, because as Brian could tell you too, when your team playing at home, you're under more pressure than the away team. People don't realize that. You are under more pressure when you play it at home. When it's away, it kind of take away that pressure of the home crowd. You know, so America came in here. They as you said, they were closer to the field, and whereas our people were, as we saying, the Johnny come late, hey, I want to be close to the Strike Squad, and everybody, they ain't thinking you have a 90 minutes to play. Whereas the Americans was just there focusing on the job.
Right. Clayton, talk to us about the tactics on the field on the day. What you felt things went wrong tactically?
Well, the thing about it, we have to come back to the point where the question you asked first, Farid, with respect to did it hamburgers, the challenges we had. Yes, it had an effect on us because now we had to refocus, right? And a critical part in the success that the team got was the mental preparation of the team from Shirley Rod Utley. God rest her soul, she passed on about 2 years ago. And prior to that game, I think 2 weeks before the November the 19th game, she was asked to distance herself from the team. I don't know what was the reason, but she was asked to distance herself from the team. And I that was really something strange, because then too, we needed her on that day after we were distracted, I should say, from all that challenge, that distraction we had getting to the venue. And then when we reached to the dressing room, and Brian could tell her the games before, she would be there and she would give us our little reminders about, what the things to expect and what the goals we set, short-term, medium goals, long-term goals, individual goals, team goals. And she wasn't able to do that. We weren't able to get that from her, right? Because she was quite on the other side of the stadium. And as Richard, as you guys who said who were there, you couldn't move from here from the back of our vehicle to the front. You couldn't move, turn around, right? So that was a big challenge for us. So the tactics really, I mean, what can I say now? The thing is, we know we just needed a draw, but you can't go and play for a draw, right? And give them, as Brian said before, give them the way our team was playing, right? I mean, we don't want to blow our own trumpet, but the confidence we had in each other and the way the team was playing, we see ourselves, winning the game outright. So, to say tactically where we went wrong, I just think, it's just, the occasion was really bigger for some of the guys, I must say, because some of Elliot Allen in particular, he was on fire for some of the warm-up games, and it's just during that time you realize, I was expecting him to step up, because I think that is why he was chosen over Hudson Charles, right? Yeah. So I think that is what. So, but it did have an effect on some of the players, but again, I can't say where we went wrong, tactically, but I think, the occasion was really a huge one. And it's just, as Brian says, just we didn't get the result we wanted on that day.
At halftime, what did Gali say to you all at halftime? Because you would have had an opportunity to be calmer and to regroup at halftime, and he would have been able to say, direct you all as to what he was expected in the second half. What did Gali say at halftime?
If I tell you I remember that, I would be lying.
But this was
if I tell you, Farid, if I tell you exactly Gali was, all I know, everybody was just there raring and ready to go for that second half to go and get that result that is required. But to tell you what word, I can't remember that at all.
For it just to add again to Skip 2, there was nothing really special said in the second half, because again, as we look at it tactically, not much of adjustment, because we're taking it to United States. Oh yes, they scored in the first half and we was 1 down. So all we had to do is this draw rest on us. So we was aware that what we had to go out there and do. So it was just like more reminders, additional motivation in our offensive play. That we need to go forward to be a little more direct, because we had to score to maintain or to get qualification. So we went out there with that and continue to try to get that goal, because the team wasn't playing bad. Yeah. Fortunately, America scored on us tonight. As we look at it wasn't, and Paul Caligiuri and all attested that it wasn't a direct shot at goal. It wasn't a direct shot at goal. So we continue playing and try to press on. But it's one of those days. We see recently in the World Cup here where Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. So a football game could rest with that type of way, because we don't want to have the divine rights to call a football game. And even said no, because the gap closed, this kind of way. But we know that the confidence, as Clayton said, and we continue to say that the strike squad played with, we obviously thought that a result would be favorable for us. But unfortunately, it didn't work that way, and we have to see it as one of those games. You know what I mean? But in saying all of this, what matters most is setting the foundation, being part of a group of players that set the foundation, where we look at continuity. 16 years, and this is what I want to stress on. 16 years after we was able to qualify for a World Cup. Yeah?
Yeah.
Was a foundation set. Then I always say the strike squad era was the crossroads of Trinidad and Tobago football, because after the strike squad, all due respect to the teams before, but the strike squad was the crossroads of Trinidad and Tobago football, because after that, you get added attention worldwide to Trinidad and Tobago football. So that's why after that, you see a lot of our players started to get contract started to go abroad and stuff, which add to the qualification of the 2016. And 2016. But what I want to say here, look, 33 years after, we're still trying to find out what went wrong with the strike squad. When we qualified for a World Cup in 2006, then the conversation should be what we did to qualify. And that will have to do with the Soca Warriors. But why the pressure or the attention is being on the strike squad is we kept physical presence in our communities and in Trinidad and Tobago. That's why it's really kind of way amazing to see, and it's unique that we see it. I just always say that no other national team in the world that stayed together 33 years after qualification. And this is why we keep a presence in our community in Trinidad and Tobago as past players, as Clayton would say, in what we can do to give back and our concern. So then you seeing that Trinidad and Tobago still want to find out what went wrong on November the 19th and why we're not concentrating on what we did right when we qualified for 2006 and not taking away the love, because you know why? Because the strike squad kept a presence with the people of Trinidad and Tobago up until this day as a group. You understand?
Would you say, Brian, would you say that community football, minor league football, grassroots football, that with the formation of the Super League, with the formation of the professional league in Trinidad and Tobago, the Football League, all that came out and after the strike squad experience? Would you say that that death of the minor league and community-based football affected our football development in terms of the players that we produce, the quality of players in the caliber of yourself and Clayton and Hudson Charles?
Well, I would say not directly. All aspects of football have a part to play in a country's football development. All aspects of football. But seeing that after the strike squad, you could see things like a professional league being formed and those type of attention. You know, as I said, that Trinidad and Tobago, after the strike squad, got that attention. So we formed in 1999, we formed a professional league and stuff like that. Well, then that league and that type of football will have to take precedence over all other football, and which is the way to go, because now footballers in Trinidad could see a way to earn a living and stuff like that. People getting employed, teams, you know, this kind of way. So it was a plus. It was a plus. You know what I mean? But we had to go forward. Now Trinidad and Tobago is being seen as a international competitive team, and then we went on to win. So we had to go into football of such nature, professional football, well-organized football, and stuff like that. And I think those are the areas after 2006 where it dropped off, which is where we're experiencing now our present situation. So then we'll have to think about all the reasons.
You know, Brian, and Clayton is there. After the 2006 experience where we qualified for the World Cup in 2006, the core, the nucleus of that team, the TNTFA banned those players, the nucleus of the team after 2006. The players had taken the federation to court, and then we knew what happened after that. They went to court. There was a $4.2 million ruling where players' monies and so on, disbursements, the court order that they be paid. We saw an enforcement action where the TTFA's office a bailiff action was taken in order to seize memorabilia, to seize trophies, in order to generate the financing to pay the players for what they were entitled to. I'm saying that to say this. I'm not trying to put us in a difficult position here. I'm just saying that even after qualification for the World Cup, the TTFA itself didn't seem to be in tune with what it takes to inspire the players. If the federation, and are you of the view that the federation is responsible for stifling the evolution of our football in terms of not supporting the players?
Let me just put my 2 cents here, Brian, before you go.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Farid, you know, when Brian was talking, I was listening, right?
Yeah.
But let me deal with your part first, Farid. The part with the players. What I don't know if Brian ever thought about this or look at this. For my years in football, what I realized, anytime a team gets success, somehow there is something comes about that disband this team.
Yeah.
Right? If we go back, I mean, after the strike squad, I remember one of them players from the 73 team, Archibald, Warren Archibald hugged me up after the game on this field. And he said, Clayton, what we saw here today, we won't see this in 16 years to come. I don't know why he said that, but it's then after I realized when we listened to Super Blue song, 16 years ago in Germany, we came 16 years after the strike squad. And he tell me, he said, we won't see anything like this 16 years to come, which is 2006 when we qualified. Mm-hmm. Right? And to myself, I said that could never happen. Right? Because I say with this experience we have, with what we went through with this campaign, more so people like myself, who I was, 27 at the time. So I said I could hold around at least for the next 2-3 years with the younger players. But what they did, they came and they came and I think some of the players, Michael, some of the players, they get rid of the players, right? They say players too old. So then we had to start over. You come 2006, we went to the World Cup, but to be honest, when we look at the 2006 team, as I said, we were one of the oldest team when we look at when they evaluate the age in the World Cup. I don't know if you remember that, Brian.
Yes,
right? We were one of the oldest.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, the roster.
Yeah, we were one.
Our roster, we were one of the oldest team in the world.
Yeah, one of the smallest nation, but one of the oldest with respect to the average age, right? So I know for a fact these players can continue. But what they did, they come with the court matter, whatever, and they ban 13 players or whatever. So then we had to start over again. Right? So this is why this too does have us in this situation. That is why we can't continue from wherever everything. And if something goes on, when I coached national under 20 team, win tournament, and for some reason they remove me, they put a new coach, so they have to start over all over and over and over again. So we never have continuity with respect to whatever we achieve. Right? So this is something I think too that humble us or keep us back from really striving, because I mean, as we said, 1989 we missed from 1 point. 2006 we qualified for the World Cup. But now, as Brian was just saying, we want to find out what we did in 89, but what we did right in 2006 that we qualified. But who here asking that? Who in administration dealing with that? All they look at, huh?
Yes. I know, I said this is what's going on. Yeah, go ahead, Skipper.
And this is the problem, because I tell you, as a coach with the national team, I went and was successful with an under-19 team after going through all sorts of challenges, right? And when I came back here, they fire me. I win the team, qualify the team for Olympic, and they remove me, right? So somehow, when things get successful, administration say no. So they have a big part to play in it, Farid, a very, very big part.
There's another issue I want to raise. You remember that successful Gold Cup team that got to the semi-final under Bertil Sinclair? As soon as Sinclair, when we lost that semi-final to Canada, right after that tournament, they fire Sinclair.
Right. So if you find why they fire him, Farid, you know why they fire him? Because they had asked him to renew his contract before he leave here, and he said, no, I go into this Gold Cup and I'm going to win this Gold Cup, and my contract it would be a more valuable contract. And that's why they didn't never renew his contract. They didn't fire him, they never renew the contract.
Right.
Corey, this, as I always say, to have the picture, we need all parts of the puzzle. We need all the pieces of the puzzle to get the picture. You understand what I mean? If you leave out a piece of the puzzle, then you would not get you would not get the picture. So we all have our roles to play as people in football. Yeah, as I always say, the tabletop model, right? The tabletop model we fall in 4 main legs. As I always say, you talk about administrators, which are who plan your football and run your football. Then you want technical expertise, your coaches, your physios, etc. Then you want your facilities, and then you want your players. You want your players, which will make up the organization of, I would say, an organized entity or a successful entity. The same thing like in training an athlete, which we talk about again the tabletop model. There's only 4 areas that can train an athlete: technically, physically, mentally, and the other one. Yeah. So what is important here? Everyone have their role to play, and as Clayton said, why should it be in a way when success or you see something good take place, there is discontinuity? Who is responsible? Then the decision makers, which that's sometimes the players and the coach always being looked at because we out in the field. But I say sometimes our administrators have to be more responsible for guiding the game, right, for guiding us as a nation, what we do, how we do it, when we do it, etc. So we have to understand these things, and that's why I make the point here now. There might be mistakes, but I keep saying 33 years after, we as elders, nearly all of us 60 and plus, if we keep, and no problem in sometimes looking at back at the mistakes, but 33 years after, this is why I say that I made the point as I say, the 2016 qualified for a World Cup, when we should be looking at what they did well to qualify. We all said was part of preparing that qualification. This is why I say all due respect to those who were before us, for us, and we need to respect each other. And that is what is taking place in our football. Even so, I'm talking from a Caribbean perspective, the disrespect to athletes, because we're not mature as a sporting nation to respect our athletes. For instance, when you're having a game at the stadium, the man who playing the music getting paid. If the man who working by the gate getting paid, the man who's selling nuts, everybody making a money. And then the last person you negotiate with is who really could carry on the show, the player. So there are a lot of being immature as sporting nation. We still see sport as recreation in these parts, and we have been good enough to still be competitive, even self in CONCACAF and around the world. But we need to respect each other in terms of the way forward. So this is what I'm saying. Nothing wrong with talking about strike squad 33 years after. But we need to look to what is the solution in going forward. And this is the challenge that we have. This is the challenge that we have today. Our administrators still, I think, need to, as we would say, wake up and smell the coffee in terms of preparation of national teams. Our whole even sports ministry need to take sport a little more serious in terms of preparation for the athlete, because there's only one to sometimes feed the horse the day of the racing. You understand what I mean? There's one to feed the horse the day of the race. But what it takes, and if you watch in over most of our sporting disciplines, we having those type of challenges because, more information about that time to know, finance will carry things in a serious way. To make me comfortable, to perform. Then I don't know, hey, my family, my children and them eating, my bills being paid and stuff like that. You see, and these were going on. And even watching the World Cup sometimes too. You see those things sometimes. Look recently, right now, the Cameroons. You see, they're having problems with the goalkeeper in discipline, who say I feel I want to play. And these things will be taking place. Because the only time we could make our presence be felt is when we reach that stage, but it's the wrong place to do it. It's the wrong place to do it.
Brian, I want to
1 second, Farid.
Yeah.
Brian, I think again, listening to you and Skipper, we learning a lot today, Farid. And in terms of where our soccer is, why it is where it is, which isn't too far right now.
Yeah.
Because what he said there today, they should make news, which is we are still looking at sports, not just soccer in this country and in the Caribbean, as recreation.
Yes.
We have not embraced this thing the way other countries have. Sports is a way of life. Look, for example, what we are discussing today as the root cause of the performance of the strike squad on the day had to do with the overwhelming support they were getting from the country, which they couldn't properly manage it. But if you were to harness that well, no player would have a financial problem because people were willing. I was on 5th Street in Barataria, Jogi Road, going all the way down to 6th Avenue, putting up flags, Yeah, seriously, and strike squad and thing. I remember that as a youth man because I was into it so fully, right? But if our mentality is to view sports the way Brian is saying, the way we look at it, then we don't understand what we are involved in.
Yes.
And if we don't understand what we are involved in, how we could properly position ourselves
and
to
progress
the team and to progress, because our mindset is in the wrong place. If we see it, for example, I think we were better than America in soccer for the longest while. America was in and out. When America came to play us, they had only just come back into soccer,
Yes.
So look at where America is today, because their country realized that they need to pump resources behind the team. Now today, here people are arguing they're the best in the CONCACAF over such a short period of time. Now look at where we were. They couldn't touch us, but they run past us now. America has the correct mindset for sports, and they can go to golf, basketball, what they call a rugby out there. All the players are super wealthy. They are stars. They are treated that way. And the runners, when an American win 100 meter, they fix their life. They fix their life.
Yes.
So in Trinidad and in the Caribbean, people like this guy, Bolt, they may be the exception because they went and they won and they got endorsements all over the world, merchandising and all those things would have put a lot of money in their pockets. But we didn't really exploit the strike squad in such a way to manipulate the process to give it the money it deserved. It was just like it's recreation. We're going to qualify for World Cup. Excitement. We could do it. And that was it. But the commercial side of it was not being managed well at all. And from then to now, we still have a problem with managing the commercial side of it. And I want to say, what you said there, Brian, is even deeper than what happened on the day in soccer from down there. That could have been the real problem. Although we won top and we only needed a draw, the true problem could have been, even at that time, we still weren't viewing our soccer and sports with the type of lens we should have had on to view it in such a way.
Exactly, Rich. Exactly. And this is what is very important in the way forward. So our interest here, and as Clayton will attest it now, is what we can do to fix it, because the solution is important here for our young boys and girls of Trinidad and Tobago. Because football you and I will be out, and football will continue to play. So it's setting the right environment for us to reclaim. This is what I say, it's a whole heap of reasons we have to go into, restructuring, reclaiming, and all kind of thing, revisiting all the things that we once used to enjoy as a nation in CONCACAF. Trinidad was top, way up. Now we're struggling even in CFU. So there is it's plain to see there is a big deterioration in Trinidad and Tobago football, especially that we sit here now under normalization committees and all those different things. We don't have, let me say, a football association functioning in the proper way. And I want to take time out here to say, because from my knowledge, the TTFA make up about 6 or 7 entities, which will make up the executive of the TTFA. And as I speak here, and I subject it to correction, there might be about 3 or 4 of them might be functioning, if so much. Right. So then, all the things that I hear with the normalization committee, and I'm not knocking, these are one of the first things I think they should put in place, where we can have representative of the different entities to make a functioning TTFA. And if there is not, up to this day as we speak here, then there is still a long way to go for us to put our football back in place in a proper way, because accountability and responsibility still hangs where we're not sure who in charge of what.
Right.
And this is a serious thing to me, because as I said, the entities, I think it's the Pro League, the Super League, the Referees Association, the committee, all those entities are representative, will make up the TTFA, and we don't have that in place as we speak right now. So when you talk about you want to start a league next year and when I subject it to correction because I don't have all the facts, but I'm talking layman here, what is required for us to get back on track with our football. And then when we do that, we can have now how we can run our football.
Brian, let me ask you this. In 2011, Brent Sancho, Marlon Morris, and Tansley Thompson, those 3 names were suggested by Clayton Morris to be people to transition into the management. And when I say management, in terms of we need to get the Oliver Camps and get the senior administrators out and blood new people who could actually have new ideas and inject a new spirit and a different direction. And why it is they were suggesting Sancho, he was part of the 2016. Then Marlon Morris was part of the 1989 Strike Squad team. So the Soca Warriors, the Strike Squad, and then Tansley Thompson had come out of the 1973 experience. So what they were suggesting is that we needed they even said we need to replace some of the officials and introduce new people who have new ideas. I want to introduce at this stage our position with regard to Jack Warner. When after 1990 experience, Gally Cummings seemed to have been sacrificed. He was thrown under the bus. He was replaced. The ticket fiasco, we had a commission inquiry into the sale of the tickets. That inquiry never completed. It was said that the stadium was overpopulated on the day. More tickets that should have been sold was sold. So the structure of the stadium couldn't hold that amount of people. And Colin Laird, the architect who designed the stadium, he gave evidence in the commission of inquiry that had a goal been scored, and the reaction of that crowd jumping up in that stadium, it could have compromised the integrity of the structure. Now, having said all of that, we learned from that. But Cummings was sacrificed. And when Gally left, we saw Cornel and Edgar Vidal coming to take over the management of the team. Then they brought back Gally in 93 to 96. So we sacrificed Gally. We brought him back when other people failed. Then they got rid of Gally. They brought Bertil Sinclair. We got success out of Sinclair in 2000 with the Gold Cup team. They got rid of they didn't renew the contract according to Clayton Morris of Bertil Sinclair. So they tried something new. So we lack continuity and structure, and we seem to lack a common game plan as to how to achieve things. And look where we are now. We ran ourselves into debt over that period, millions upon millions of dollars into debt, the TTFA. we couldn't get ourselves out of debt. We ran into problems with FIFA. We challenged them in court. We had to back down in the end. They sent in their normalization committee. They're managing the football now. So it seemed like administration, and this is where Clayton had spoken so many years ago. The administration of football, we have a problem with that.
And that's why.
Farid,
you're
preaching, brother. You're
that's
preaching.
why Clayton's so right. So right.
You're preaching because look, you said the thing again. They removed Gali after 89 again because of the success the team had. Yes, we didn't qualify, but look at what the country was at that time, and you remove the coach of that team. You know, you remove the coach, and as I say, some of the players decided, you know, hey, I go and focus on my job totally. Because just to come back to the point where Brian was saying about professional, we all had our day job in 1989, you know, Farid and Richard. We all had to go and make our 8 hours and then train with the national team from 87, from, let's say, because that team was together 2 years, Brian, right? Yes. 87 to 89. You were one of the fortunate one. You, Russell Atapi, and Leroy Span were, right? But you guys were like the professionals. You all didn't have to work, right? But we had to work, go to make our hours by Trinidad, and then come. Those guys had to go in the army, right? So it coming back again for it. This team was successful, and they remove it. So definitely administration has a lot to do with it. And if I could go a little further, most of the time is the political part in it too. You know, sometimes they come in there and they want to facilitate the FIFA hierarchy or whatever, and our football keeps suffering. And the people now who guiding it is the same thing, who holding on to the normalization. When you look at it, it's the same guidance, same kind of thing we going. So it's really, really, you know, I mean, what we talking, as Richard said, there should be news. But you guys, Farid, I didn't know you all have so much knowledge about this thing. I mean, we talking to you and I learning so much to myself, right? So thank you.
Yeah. But let me say this, eh?
Yeah.
I heard something there again. I mean, come on. And it goes back to what Clayton just said, goes back to Brian's point. Again, we look at this as recreation. Now, how the strike squad could have reached where it did, and some of those players weren't full-time soccer players. I mean, what country you could have that going on in? You could see America have any of those players going to another job before they show up to train, they drop. Because it's either you're playing for the country, which is your job, or you go and do the other job if you prefer, and let us use somebody who would have full-time. So that alone is craziness. What kind of administration would want to look at a team like the strike squad, and you know some of those fellas working, and not try to put things in place to tell them, partner, whether we qualify or not, you're secured financially for the next 10 years. You understand what I'm saying? So you come and run your soccer, concentrate on your soccer.
Comfortable. You've got to be comfortable to do your work. You've got to be comfortable to do your work. Because
one other point I want to touch on, based on what Farid said a little while ago. Another thing that caused a big problem on that day, I was told, is that even if we had drawn Clayton and Brian, we could have been defeated due to the overselling of tickets. Because that was a FIFA rule. If you oversold the venue and you win, you could end up losing. So is it reasonable to say technically, notwithstanding how brilliant you all were on the field, we started that match potentially being defeated?
Richard, what I want to say concerning some of those things, as you would say, hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to see that take place. Because we hear those things, we hear those things and all those, you know, much amount of things I hear about the strike squad, which I like. I tell Clayton about it, like, I was on the strike squad. You know what I mean? Because I know we hear if we did win, but let me win the game and let me see that we get banned or disqualified for overselling the tickets. Take our Bush back, and it's only brand. Would have come, you see, and the sun wasn't Michael Morris' eye. You see, sometimes all due respect to the media. But if I say, boy, like I feel the sun was in Brown, that's how the story went. A man might say, boy, only lost because only take a bushback, or only should have taken a bushback. And that's how the story went along. Because I don't know who would say the strikes will take a bushback before the game.
It was a myth, Brian. That wasn't true.
But this is what's going on, and this is what's going on. And the same thing with Michael Morris, with his son in the eye. Because we know, yes, at the National Stadium, when the sun setting in the west, the goal were brown when Michael was saving him. Or even some of the people who have been in the stands there on the uncovered side, sun doesn't be in your eye. So people went around with this, but Michael Morris never said the sun was in his eye. So a lot of things like being said about what took place and stuff like that. Yes, we have to deal with it other than that, leave alone. Other than that, some of the actions taken, as Clayton said, by the administrator, we have no control over it. The firing of Gary Cummins. It was difficult with what the players could do if the association fired Gary Cummins.
Right.
It was out of our control, things like that out of our control. But what I could say here now, the strike squad really was together, had a good bonding. We were all good friends. Even up to today, we enjoy our training sessions. We really do appreciate what Gali brought to the team in terms of some of, as we were saying them times, modern. His motivation, his drive as a coach was great. So there are one or two little mistakes that took place that which we had to correct or fix and think. But as Clayton said, if you're not keeping continuity, then you always have to keep rebuilding until until what we see in today, our position. But from my knowledge, sometimes we get too personal.
Yeah,
we get too personal in achieving the big picture. So it's this one and this one, what this one feel about this one. And that is one of the problems we have with our administrators.
We always have to cut away 6 o'clock on the dot for the news. So I want to let Farid, I know you had something to say. Thank you so much, Brian, and he will give you all the last word.
All right,
Farid. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Where are we in terms of time, Richard? In my time, we have about 6 minutes left.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah.
Right. So, Brian, I want to introduce this. It seems that the TTFA ran roughshod and did its own thing without proper consultation with the players over the years, not just in your time, but through the years. The TTFA didn't have the relationship, or they didn't cultivate the relationship with the players that they ought to have cultivated, because there would be no TTFA without the players. It doesn't make sense. You have a football federation to manage no one. You need the players. The players make and break the administration. The administration can't run roughshod over players and then expect them to commit themselves on a field. And then you're turning around now. I want to criticize the performance of the team when management isn't looking after the team in the way that it should. So we ran into problems over the years with the federation. Now, I'm saying that to say this. When it seemed like there was a certain level of malice that was taking place in terms of how the players were treated by the TTFA, meaning that the TTFA was vindictive at times. What we had was, and I'm not pointing fingers at Mr. Warner, but he's one of the prominent figures. He was a blessing in so many ways, but in so many other ways and all, when he didn't get his way, he wasn't afraid to use his power to remove people. And I'm saying that to say this. He resigned from the TTFA in December 1989, but he went and pursued to be head of CONCACAF. When he became head of CONCACAF, now he's the special advisor to the TTFA. So if he can't be involved in the TTFA to make things happen in his way, he using the power that he had as special advisor to influence what coach come in, to influence what the coaches would do, to influence the direction and the shape of the TTFA, because the TTFA without FIFA was a broke body. The TTFA never ran out of profit. So he had an influence in terms of what sort of injections of capital come in over the years. Now we see the position where he's in now, where after 30 years of involvement, the Americans did what they did. They held accountable a lot of FIFA officials, and with the latest court ruling, we may have to, meaning Trinidad and Tobago as a government, may have to make a decision whether they're going to make him available to the US to answer to allegations. I want the public to understand that this extradition thing, they ought not to misunderstand it. The extradition position is simply this. We have to make a decision as a government, and the Trinidad and Tobago government has to make a decision whether they're going to present him to the US for trial purposes. His innocence might be proven out there, and then he'll be released and come back to Trinidad quite normal. But the role of Austin Jack Warner couldn't be underestimated through the years. He has a part to play in terms of how things evolved in our football. And I want to thank you all for presenting yourself. Brian, if you could just make a small comment on that, or you're free to say you don't want to comment. I don't want to put you in a difficult position.
No, well, I wouldn't be in a difficult position. I have a different, as you said, I have a different view on that perspective, different view on Mr. Warner. I know Mr. Warner plays role, as we would say, how I should say, in different ways. What he's going through now, because of, he will have to answer and deal with his own consequences. As I always say, I give people the respect. He's a bad boy, he's a gunman. When you get gunned down, you deal with it in that way because that's the life you choose to live. But on the other side of it, we have to look at it, as I say, in a different perspective. What Mr. Warner also done for countries like Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean in being in a certain sense of recognition for world football, or being that part of respecting world football. If whatever you do, I have no knowledge of it, I have no facts of it, I might have my own little personal opinions, you know what I mean? But he'll have to deal with its consequences. He will have to deal with his own conscience when come to that. But on a positive side, Mr. Warner is one of the brothers who have give countries like Trinidad and Tobago a chance to play in the World Cup, and most of the Caribbean countries, even so as we all know, CONCACAF is one of the biggest confederations in the world. It's 41 we have in it. Brazil have 10 in it. You understand what I mean? Some other confederation have less than, we're one of the biggest confederations. So seeing that was one of the championing that the brother had to do to bring teams like Caribbean teams who would have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. So from that aspect, it's not totally bashing the brother, but if the brother did other things that is not right, then he faces consequences. So he'll have to deal with that. So I will rest in those views about Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner is not totally to be bashed, and then I don't want to bring what kind of man and whatever, because a small Caribbean man having that power in world football, sometimes we hail him some other countries hail him as a hero, but because of whatever take place and whatever way we might be knowledgeable about self-thing and what, I don't have all the facts. It becomes a problem, but he will have to answer for that. But other than that, Mr. Jack Warner also did well for countries like us in the Caribbean in making a mark in world football.
I agree. Yeah. He was an enigma. And we have to thank you for making yourself available, Richard and I, and David. You spoke so well and so intelligently about all the issues. It's good to see you healthy and strong, and we wish you the very best of everything moving forward. We will invite you again and invite Clayton also, and maybe we could get some of the other stars, Hudson Charles and perhaps Kerry Jameson to chime in at some point. But we will have another discussion like this. Thanks again for everything, and thanks for your openness.
But in closing, right, we strike. So we do a lot of work in communities all over Toronto, Tobago. I know we're gonna be coming to 1 or 2 for some strength and some whatever little support. So you know,
That's no problem.
yeah, but
we'll keep in touch in that regard.
We are available and willing to give back because we know that is our role now. As Clayton is a key person in championing those initiatives and stuff, and some of those programs with some of our primary, go around to schools and stuff. We reach out. We don't fit much, right? But you know, we physically we deteriorated in terms of football playing, but we have other things to give back that we willing to. Yeah.
Your mental strength and your know-how. That's important for the past generation to share their experiences and to inspire others. So you're fulfilling a function even after football, off the field.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks so much again.
Thanks again for radio.
Yeah. Skipper Clayton Morris, thank you for being here today. Brian Williams, thank both of you for being so candid with your thoughts and your expressions here today.